يسعد مساكم جميعا كمان مرة. أهلا وسهلا فيكم في الجلسة رقم 30 من كوبينار. اليوم جلستنا راح تكون مع أوس النابلسي. أوس هو صديق وأخ عزيز، هو مؤسس CEO لشركة جيميفاي ستارت اب فلسطينية لها أتوقع 2 أو 3 تشتغل، ممكن هو يصححني كمان شوي. وحاليا شغالين في أمريكا الجنوبية وبالخليج، عندهم برضو كلاينتس من اللي يعني من اسمهم جيميفاي نقدر نفهم أنهم داخلين موضوع الجيميفيكيشن ومين اللي في موضوع الماركتينج. يعني أوس راح يحكي لنا من تجربته الواقعية للسوق وخبرته مع الكلاينتس تبعونه وكيف هم كستارت اب قدروا يوظفوا هذا المفهوم بالبزنس تبعهم. في كتير ناس ممكن ما سمعت عن الجيميفيكيشن من قبل أو سمعت عنه ولكن فكرته أنه يعني نعمل لعبة. هو نوعا ما صح، بس إحنا كيف الموضوع اللعب إنه نوظفه بأشياء غير الألعاب علشان نستفيد من أمور تانية. فأهلا وسهلا بالجميع. أهلا أوس، إن شاء الله راح تكون جلسة ممتعة ومفيدة للجميع. وتفضل المايك معك.
شكرا كثير داود. صراحة هاي يعني أنا كثير مبسوط بوجودي معك هون مع الكل. يعني ممكن هاي تكون من أول المرات اللي بطلع to publicly speak عن الكور الجيميفيكيشن والbehavior design والconcepts اللي إحنا we use on a daily basis. other يعني other companies أو apps also employ it in their strategies and apps. فعن جد كتير مبسوط وبتمنى إنه هذا الكونسبت شوي يعني شوي يصير عندنا awareness أكتر عليه، لأنه أنا باعتقادي الشخصي إنه يعني العالم كله خلص مرحلة الديزاين اليو اكس العادي، خلص مرحلة إنه يكون عندي بوتون هون أو بوتون هناك أو how many clicks to get to a certain page. خلصنا كل المواضيع هاي. من ناحية اي كوميرس أو انفراستراكشر برضه خلصنا موضوع البيمنت جيت ويز، خلصنا موضوع اللوجيستكس، الدليفري، الفولفيلمنت الاوردرز. فهلا it's all about the customer experience. It's all about how to engage your users or customers, how you onboard them, how you have them come back to you. واكيد يعني اذا حدا موجود من اللي معانا بيلعب جيمز او جرب انه يلعب جيمز بيعرف قديش انها الجيمز افكتيف وقديش الجيمز بتشدنا انه نرجع لها. يعني مرات كثير انا بفكر انه الجيمر هو افضل ستودنت، لانه بيقدر يضل لل3 أو 4 الصبح بس يلعب الجيم. فتخيلوا انك تحط له انت مثلا الهوم ورك تبعه يكون as fun and engaging as a game. in the same manner بيقدر انه يصحى الصبح بكير على 7 الصبح او 6 الصبح على اساس انه يظبط الافاتار والكاركتر تبعه ويجهز حاله للجيم ويفوتوا اصحابه and they continue playing from early in the morning. فgames can be very effective, games can be very powerful. I'm gonna share my screen هلا. Should I go to the share عادي هون؟
Yes, أوس.
Okay. تمام. التوبيك اللي عم نحكي عنها اليوم اللي هي جيمز، جيميفيكيشن وكونسيومر او كاستمر بيهيفير. خلينا نحكي. فلما لو بدي اسال مثلا ايش اول شيء بيخطر على بالكم لما تيجي سيره جيمز؟ انت بتسمع والله جيمز او حدا بيلعب جيمز او ممكن اول شيء يخطر على البال الواحد انه games are for kids او games are for those who have less responsibility, who have more free time, blah blah blah. هلا not to talk too much about games, but to give you a little bit of background او statistics عن الجيمز والجيمرز. فباسيكلي الافريج يعني الايج اوف جيم بلايرز عندك 29% منهم اقل من 18 سنه، 32% من الجيمرز بين 18 ل 35 سنه، ف and 39% over 36 years old. if this was to tell us something, يعني it's telling us انه games are not for kids anymore. Games evolved we have social games, we have mobile games, we have games everywhere basically, and they're not for young kids anymore or people who have no responsibility. If we talk about gender, it's almost equally divided between males and females. 52% of gamers are males and 48% of gamers are females. The next thing I want to talk about is what we call game techniques. Okay, when you think games or you think gamification, أول إشي راح يخطر على بالك points أو badges أو مثلا leaderboards. هذولا the most common or well-known things about games. They all have them. There is no game that doesn't have points. There is no games that doesn't have badges, and there is no game that doesn't have a leaderboard. بس الإشي اللي بدي أوضحه هون إنه there is a great misconception أو myth. I want to يعني clarify two myths here. One, إنه gamification in itself is anything but games. So if you want to do gamification, you're not designing a game, you're not creating a game. They're completely different. The second thing is that gamification is not throwing points and badges and leaderboards on anything and calling it gamified. That is not what gamification is. Points, badges, and leaderboards are basically game techniques that are used among hundreds of other game techniques in a gamification design. So those are the two first facts that I wanted to share with you guys. And that brings us to the question of what is gamification? Okay, so gamification is simply deriving, it's basically taking out or deriving, or let's say juicing games or the fun part of games out of games and adding it into non-gaming context. It could be business, it could be lifestyle, it could be anything you can think of. Education, getting better at a certain thing, raising your kids, your sales team, your marketing strategy, anything you can think of, just taking out of, taking those game mechanics and core drives out of games and implementing them in your non-gaming context. This is what gamification is. And in gamification, we have basically 8 main core drives that drive everything, that drive all the human behavior. This is what we call behavioral design, is by using those 8 core drives that drive us into doing anything in life. So I kept the screen because it looks nice, but I like to visualize them better in this octagon. So the 8 core drive, to talk about them a little bit, عندنا مثلا development and accomplishment, عندنا epic calling and meaning, empowerment of creativity and feedback, and the rest. I just want to, before I explain them, want to ask maybe a couple questions. السؤال الأول اللي هو with this pandemic happening, let's say when the government came out and they announced إنه في عندنا lockdown راح يصير in 2 days. Everybody went out shopping, grocery shopping, they went out getting food, they went out getting stuff for the house, and then they came back, locked themselves up. So why do you think those people actually ran out of the house, trying to get as much as they can, as fast as they can, and then they came back to their house and locked themselves up? The answer to the first part of the question of why they went out is because of the loss and avoidance core drive. They were driven by the fact that they are it's because of the scarcity and impatience. So they were driven to go out because they were worried that stuff will run out of the house, and will run out of the supermarket. So there is scarce, there is limitation, there is or in Arabic يعني ندرة. So everybody went out trying to get as much as they can. And then why they locked themselves up is because they want to avoid getting infected. So that is loss and avoidance. So this tells you like how the different core drives can influence your behavior and motivate you to do different things. Another question would be, why do we accumulate wealth? If somebody has millions of dollars or is a billionaire, why do they keep accumulating more and more? It is basically because of the ownership and position core drive. Is because a human being in nature, they like to own things. Why do we buy luxurious cars or homes, and so on? So development and accomplishment is basically about feeling accomplished while doing the activity. So if I am learning something, I'm just navigating from one lesson to another without really seeing my progress, or without feeling that I am making any actual development on myself, I will definitely drop after maybe the first lesson or two. If I was like really into it, I could last 3 to 4 lessons, but that's about it. So this is one of the most common game techniques used to showcase the core drive development and accomplishment. We're all aware of it. It's basically progress bars. You know, if you add a progress bar to something, it shows you what is, you know, how much you've developed in this specific thing. So LinkedIn, for example, they, you know, when you first create a LinkedIn account, you will notice a progress bar on the right-hand side telling you how well established your profile is. And then that progress bar, as you go on, it builds up, and then you feel really good about it because you have the best profile ever now. And then if you come back to your own LinkedIn account a year or 2 years later, it looks completely different. So they designed probably 2 or even 3 products to accommodate for the different phases that you're in. Onboarding you, they needed to motivate you to create you know, development and accomplishment, so you can create your profile and maintain it. You can even have the feeling of ownership because it's your own profile. And then maybe a year or 2 later, it is more about social influence and relatedness. You know, maybe finding a job, maybe you're launching you know, a for good campaign. So there is epic calling and meaning. Epic calling and meaning is basically feeling, you know, you're part of something bigger than yourself. So a great example of that is the most recent Hack the Crisis, or Hack the Crisis hackathon that happened here in Palestine, where everybody came together and they started coming up with different ideas to solve for the pandemic. I'm not sure if I have the time to go through each and every one. I just wanted to you know, get the idea across that those are the the 8 main core drives that motivate people to do different things. Now, if you look at this shape, you will notice that I cut it in 2 halves. The upper part is called white hat gamification, or intrinsic. So the name implies it. It's white hat. It's internal. It drives people to do things because they feel like they want to do it. Like participating in a fundraising campaign to support poor people. You know, like taking part of you know, a lesson or a charity or anything. That is called white hat gamification. While if you look at the bottom part of this shape, it's called black hat, or extrinsic, because it is actually forced on you from the outside. So there's scarcity and impatience. So you're doing things because they're scarce. There is little, you know, little stuff of that. I need to go get them. There is loss and avoidance. There is curiosity. So it's all coming at you from the outside. Ownership and position, social influence, and relatedness are kind of in the middle between white hat and black hat. Depending on the game technique that you use when you design for each one of these, it could be more black hat or it could be more white hat. But I'm not sure we have the time in this 1 hour session to go through all these details. So what I wanted to talk about next is, okay, we have 8 code drives, and then what? You know, we now understand how people, you know, are motivated to do different things. So next is, when I said we derive game techniques and add them to non-gaming activities, this is what it is once we define what motivates people out of these 8 core drives, we have what's called game techniques that we can implement in our different experiences. For example, development and accomplishment. Here's a sample list of different game techniques that you can use to design for development and accomplishment in your platform or software or business or learning or anything. So there is status points. So you give people points. So remember when I told you at the beginning that points is just one thing out of hundreds of things that you can use. So status points is just the beginning of development and accomplishment. In the same manner, there's badges, which I also like to call achievement symbols, because a lot of the gamification designs out there I see, they just throw badges. We used to do this as well before we figured out that badges are not just meant to be given away. If you look at the history of badges, actually they were first used in the military. You know, there is ranks, and when you rank up, you get a different title and you get a badge. If you get involved and you risk your life and you do something heroic, you probably get, you know, the Medal of Honor, and then you go home and you brag about it and you wear it. But you really would not go home and wear, you know, all the different badges that you've been given away. Like if you had been given a badge on your first day that says first day in the military, and then 5 days in the military, and then 10 days at the military, you will not go around wearing those. You're probably going to hide them and feel shy about it. So that's why I like to call it achievement symbols. And so many more, like fixed action rewards, leaderboards, progress bars, quest lists, desert oasis, high five, crowning, anticipation parade. In the same manner, each and every core drive has its own game techniques that you could use. For example, empowerment of creativity and feedback. There is milestone unlocks. You know, if you play a game, you could see the different levels that that you can play, but a few of them are open, and then the rest are locked. And then you want to work your way and find a way to how to unlock them, and then you have different things that you need to do. There is real-time control, there is evergreen combos, instant feedback, and a lot of different game techniques that you can utilize in your empowerment of creativity and feedback. So now that I've talked a little bit about the theoretical part of the 8 code drives and the different game techniques, and that they exist, I will give you a little bit of real life examples of those. So the first one is accomplishment and development. So as we all know, you know, health or healthcare is kind of a long-term thing. You know, you cannot really get fit overnight. You cannot lose weight or fix something in yourself overnight. So a few of those apps that help you get better fit or get, you know, healthier have figured that out. Have figured out that you need to tell the person using the app, you need to break down their progress in shorter steps and show them that. So you could see every day how many steps you walked, how many calories you lost, what is your progress, how much better you got, if they have set up different challenges for you. So they utilize the accomplishment and development really, really well. And not all of them. So Nike, for example, the Fitbit, and a few more. The second one is empowerment of creativity, which, like I said, games do a really good job at opening the doors for people to imagine things and do what they want and test things out, etc. One of the great examples that I like to give here is a game called Fold It, which basically was designed to solve a scientific problem. So a 15-year-old problem around the structure of the AIDS protein. So proteins fold in certain ways, and scientists were trying to find the way the AIDS protein was folding for so long, until some of them came together and designed it into a game, launched it, and within 10 to 15 days, players were able to solve that problem. So that tells you a little bit of how powerful games can be. The next example is about ownership and position. So the famous Farmville, you know, it's a Facebook. It was one of the most famous games on Facebook. I'm sure it still is. A lot of people play it. But what is it about Farmville? The thing about Farmville is that it makes you feel like you own the farm. It's your own little farm. You're coming every day. You're growing it. You're taking care of it. You're taking the crops. You're leveling up. Of course, with a lot of other game core drives involved and a lot of game mechanics and techniques involved. But what they do a really good job at here is the ownership and position of making people feel like they own their farms and they go crazy if they felt that they left it out and it's drying out. They wake up in the middle of the night and then they do different things. Okay, the next one is scarcity and impatience, which means something is very, very little. It's not available for everybody. And I, as a human being, want to get it. I want to buy that unique edition of a game or a car or that painting that has been signed by the painter, etc. What platforms do a good job at incorporating scarcity and impatience. A great example is the booking platforms. When you go to booking.com or any airline ticketing system, you can see that they tell you booked 4 times for your dates in the last 24 hours. Only 3 like this left on our site. Now it could be true, but they could have hid it or not showed it, and it could be completely just made up. But it does a really good job, at least for me, that if I'm interested in that place, I need to take action now before those 3 rooms that are like this one run out. And you could do a lot of different things with the scarcity and impatience, including price, like 5 minutes until this price goes up, etc. Should I keep going, or do you guys have questions? I'm not actually following. So maybe Dawood, you can tell me if there are questions up to this point. Okay, I'll consider that it's not. Okay, unpredictability and curiosity, which means that I do the thing because I want to find out what it does, or what's behind it, what's next, and so on. So
حتى مفيش أسئلة.
Okay, I'll just keep going. يعني خد راحتكم. If anybody wants to ask a question, I can answer. So one great example about the curiosity building in people is notifications. In Facebook, for example, you can see a notification that says somebody commented on your post. That will definitely bring you back to the platform. That will get you back engaged with the platform. You want to see who commented, what they commented, or what that notification is, who sent me what. So of course, there's again a lot of different factors involved, including social influence and relatedness, development and accomplishment. But I just wanted to give this as an example for building curiosity in people and how they drive user behavior. So now that we have a little bit of knowledge about gamification, I want to skip this probably because of time. A bit more examples is, for example, Duolingo is one of the great examples about how apps can successfully incorporate gamification, and it could result in that app being, one of the top apps in their industry. Booking.com in the same manner, Uber, LinkedIn, Facebook. So you see, it's kind of, it tells us something that we really need to pay attention to these things. So knowing all of that, the question is how to proceed. We know what gamification is now. We know that there is 8 core drives. We know that there are game techniques. We know that those examples have been implemented. But how can we start thinking about gamification in our own products, in our own businesses or stores? So here there is a 5-step process for starting to incorporate gamification in your products or businesses. And normally what I see product designers or user experience designers do is they jump into the 5th step, being the wireframes. Okay, we want to build an app that does food delivery for customers in the West Bank or in Palestine, whatever. So we go to a wireframing tool and we start laying out screens. We say this is the order, this is the price, this is how you choose your order, this is how you choose your location, etc. And then it goes to design and development. Where in fact there is 4 other steps that you can take into account to improve your design of your product, of your e-commerce store, of anything that you want to incorporate gamification in. So the first one is called strategy dashboard. And strategy dashboard, let me just bring this up. Okay. So a strategy dashboard lays out to you the different things that you need to take into account to have a successful design for a product. It starts with the user, or you could call them the player, or customer, consumer, whatever you want. This is the person who is going to be using that app or website. And then there is desired actions, there is feedback mechanics, and then there is rewards, there is the win state, and then there is business metrics. So desired actions are basically things that you want your users to be performing or doing within your app or website. For example, if it's an e-commerce site, you want them to visit your store, view products, add products to cart, check out, write reviews, share it with their friends, and the list can go on. So this is where you define your desired actions. And then there is the feedback mechanics, which is how you will communicate those desired actions to your users. What will trigger your users to do those desired actions. It could be as simple as a purchase button. It could be a notification. It could be a pop-up on the site when they intend to leave it. It could be a small thing, dangling on the right-hand side. So those are the feedback mechanics of how we'll trigger the users to complete those desired actions. And then most importantly, there is the business metrics. We are, in the first place, designing this whole thing to serve for the business metric, because without having business metrics served, then we will not have any impact. So you need to define your business metrics and see what is it the most that you want your users to do in order for you to make money, or in order for you to your app to be successful. It could be having a lot of active users daily, or it could be having just a few who are making big purchases. It could be having people who are sharing with their friends. So it's all about your business metrics. And of course, it comes with the win state and it comes with the rewards. So we need to think, for each and every desired action performed, there has been an impact on my business. Therefore, I need to make that user feel like they are in a win state. Like, congratulations, you've reached level blah blah blah. You've earned this thing, of course, within the bigger scope of the whole design. And then the rewards, which you need to think of what you want to reward your customers, and there's a lot of different types of rewards. It could be a reward that it's called earned lunch, and basically the user knows what they have to do and they know what the reward is, so they work their way to get the reward. This is the most simple, the easiest to design kind of reward, and that could be like accumulating points to redeeming a coupon. There is the mystery box kind of designed for reward. So you know what you have to do, but you don't know what is the reward. So there's so many. Unfortunately, this session is not really enough to talk about the different types of rewards or any of this in detail. But I just wanted to kind of highlight these things. And then, just as an example to start, we need to start with defining our business metrics, as mentioned. So I'm taking the example of an e-commerce store and listing the, let's say, top 10 business metrics for the most e-commerce stores. I'm not sure if there exists an e-commerce store that has different business metrics, but we identified the first business metric to be sales conversion rate. So all of them, they want to sell more. So they're spending money on social media, they're getting people on their stores, and they want to convert more of those people. So they want to optimize their sales conversion rate. And then the second one is probably going to be increased traffic and or footfall, depending. Well, this is the e-commerce example, so it's going to be traffic, but if that e-commerce was associated with a physical store as well, footfall could be involved and you can drive people to your store. And then the list goes on to email opt-ins, to shopping cart abandonment, to average session duration, customer frequency, average basket size, customer lifetime duration, even net promoter score, and then customer acquisition cost. This is the top 10, but in reality, you cannot really optimize for the 10. You can definitely improve the 10, but you cannot optimize and focus on the 10 business metrics. So I highly advise that you choose ideally 1, 2, or 3 at most that you want to focus on in your next design of the product, and you go for that. So in this case, there is the sales conversion rate, or the increase in traffic and or footfall. So once we defined our business metrics, we move into defining our user types. So again, we described that there are core drives that motivate people, but different people can be motivated, using different core drives. It's not everybody is the same. So you really need to understand who your customer is, who your user is. In this example, again, it's the e-commerce. I used this example, 2 axes, so it's a 2x2 kind of array. On the right-hand side, there are the discount seekers, so people who come to my site to buy only when I have a discount. That's one user type. Another user type is loyal customers who always come back to my store or to my brand to make a purchase with me. And then you can even break those down more into customers who are wandering, who just came to the store to take a look. They're curious to see my products and not really to buy. And then there is the need-based customers, customers who came to my store because they need one or more of the products that I'm offering on my store. So that gives us about 4 different types of customers: loyal customers who are wandering, discount seekers who are wandering, loyal customers who are in need, and discount customers who are in need. And then just to make things simpler and even more fun, you can give them names. So loyal customers who are wandering, you can call them turtles. And you can call those foxes, dragons, and then wolves. And then once you define your different user types, and you shouldn't exceed 4, so you have 2 to 4. And by the way, you can use any different metrics that you think are more appropriate to your business. So it could be, demographics. It could be age, gender, interests, behavior, habit, frequency, whatever you feel that is more relevant to your industry, to your business, or to the business metrics that you've set up. You can use them here and apply the design accordingly. So next is, after we have defined our audience, our users, and we've defined our business metrics, we connect the dots. We see how those user types, so in this example, I've picked the wolves, and the wolves again are those loyal customers who need a product that I'm offering. So I come and I look at the wolves and I think, out of those 8 core drives, what mostly motivates those people to do things in nature, not just in my store, or even in my store coming to buy, etc. So you come and you take the 8 core drives and you give them out of 10 different grades. So let's say ownership and position. Are wolves coming to my store because they want to own that thing only? Maybe. So that's kind of 6 out of 10. Development and accomplishment. So based on what I'm selling, it could be high, it could be low. In this example, it's 8 out of 10. Epic calling and meaning. They're for sure not coming to my store because they they want to feel part of something bigger than themselves. So I'm not really contributing any money to any cause, etc. So that's 2 out of 10. Where if you were kind of having a concept like a green concept, or if you're donating some of your profit to a certain cause, this could be a lot higher. It could be maybe 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, and so on. So you go around and you think of each and every core drive and how much it can motivate this specific user type. And then you repeat this process for the 3 other user types, and then you will have an array of user types versus core drives. And then once you have that, you go into the 4-phase customer journey design, which consists of discovery, onboarding, returning, and then veteran. So when you design for your users, you need to think of the different phases. Like I mentioned the example of LinkedIn. When you first come to LinkedIn, it is a completely different experience than maybe a few months into it, than a year into it. So we break those down into 4 different phases. Discovery being the phase that this user has, it's the first time they have heard about your brand or business, and it goes until they interact with it. And then onboarding is after discovery and until they become they convert. For example, they make a purchase or they sign up. So depending on your conversion. Returning is basically, or scaffolding, returning, whatever you want to call it. It is basically coming back every time and doing the same activities again and again and again. So this is loyalty. This is retention. So it's called returning, scaffolding, loyalty, retention, whatever you want to call it. And then there is the veteran. So a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people play the game so much that they become really good at it, and then they lose interest in it, or they achieve something that they had in mind, a challenge that they had in mind, a certain level, and then they lose interest. So if you want to take it further, you still need to design for those veterans. It could be repeating the same game, the same levels, the same everything, only doubled in difficulty, only more challenges, different things. But it has to be taken into account to ensure a longer lifetime duration of the customer and a higher lifetime value. Just checking the time. Yeah. So in the discovery phase, what you do is you again take each and every phase and you see what you can implement out of the game, different game mechanics, given the different core drives, how you want to motivate your users to discover your brand, for example, or your store. So in this example, I have progress bar, which basically means that I want to motivate people for development and accomplishment. So I would like in the discovery phase, when they start interacting with my brand, I want to give them something. And by the way, when I put this progress bar, streak ramp up, XP points, high five, whatever I list here, doesn't mean that I designed it. It means that I intend on using this game technique because I think it is most applicable to my industry or business or app. So, excuse me. So progress bar is one of the game techniques that I want to use in development accomplishment. There is streak ramp up, or the concept of a streak, which means you let the user do different things to come back and do them on daily basis or on weekly basis, not to lose their status or progress. So you could have visit my website every day. And day 1, you give them 10 points. Day 2, you give them 20 points. Day 3, 30, and then so on. And if they break, they could lose that, and then they go back to the earning 10 points a day. That could be, called ramp up. There is the ramp down. So if you don't want them to feel that they lost it all immediately, then you could start, if they broke one day, they start earning 80 points a day instead of 90, and then 70, 60, 40. So sorry about that. I haven't spoken for so long for a long time ago.
لازم نعطيك بريك أوس.
والله لازم. I think it's a lot of information. I'm not sure if this 1 hour session, I tried to put as much as possible to benefit people, يعني, but I think it's a lot of information. It's going to take time to digest all of this. I'm sure people who are interested in this topic will have a lot of questions. So feel free.
شباب إذا بتحبوا حدا نفتح له المايك يسأل سؤال وعنده أي استفسار فين فري برضه نعطي فرصة لأوس برضه ياخذ نفس. تفضل جورج بس اعمل unmute.
أوس it's a great presentation really. كان عندي a couple of questions. واحد how do you leverage this in Gamify itself؟ هذا واحد. وتنين as part of Gamify, do you part of the package you provide in terms of your customers, is it a في عندك جزء consulting phase معاهم? Was that paid ولا it's cost of doing business؟ الشغلة الثالثة بالسلايد تبعت الاستراتيجي في شغلة كنت بدي استفسر عليها. هوني بهاي بالcommit track, let's say this is e-commerce, so the commit track would be placing the order maybe. بالtracks, if you can relate it to an e-commerce thing, a deeper dive. عشان ما فهمتش الsplit. What I understood is the feedback is getting them back to take action, if I'm not mistaken.
الفيدباك ميكانكس هي how you communicate مع اليوزرز تبعونك. You trigger them to take desired actions. So basically بتشوف انت probably in a lot of sites they utilize you get 20% discount to leave your email, you know, so that's called the feedback mechanic. Okay. But that's a shotgun kind of approach, you know. Mm-hmm. You're giving the reward immediately for just giving you the email, and then there is no connection with the customer and it's not part of our entire journey.
Okay.
Is that the only question here, or do you want me to go through the others?
لا, I think this is good enough for this. بس إذا تقدر to address the other ones.
أكيد. هلا إحنا في Gamify the concept إنه we create a platform to be a DIY, do it yourself, as a plugin to different technologies that we support. So we support in terms of e-commerce, we support Shopify, we support Magento, we support other platforms in Latin America. That you could basically add our platform or software to your store and start using the different gamification techniques that we have in there. So you would go through a dashboard, you would start adding your challenges, defining the points, the values, the levels, the ranks, the badges. So we put it all in a platform. Then we realized that this is a really difficult task for our customers to do. So we need to simplify it even further. So we started, like you said, the consultancy side that is coupled with the platform that we offer. So we step into the business, we help them define the different things that we talked about, the business metrics, the user types, the desired actions, the different game techniques and mechanics, the core drives. We help them design all of this and then implement it using our software, and then it becomes a SaaS kind of relationship with them. Of course, the consultancy is a separate fee because it involves a lot of time put into it, thinking, designing, brainstorming. We do a lot of hours of that. So I hope those answer the questions that you had, or still I'm missing.
لا ممتاز. بس انت when you البلاتفورم تبعك enables different companies to provide the gamification mechanism in a simple way using البلاتفورم تبعكم.
Yes.
بس انت when you're approaching it انت you're selling to your customer, so somehow you're gamify.
Yeah.
So how do you do that, if you can relate it to that?
Basically, I can relate it to that by going back to the 8 core drives, right? What is it that motivates my customers? It is basically ownership and position. You know, they want to make more money. They want to sell more, mainly because we're in the B2B business. We deal with telecoms, we deal with banks, we deal with retail. So their end goal is sales. So basically, when we go in, we look at their numbers, we tell them, you know, if you come with us, if you better analyze your business, if you do 1, 2, 3, you could jump 20%, 30%, 40% in your sales. So that's the number one factor or driver or core drive that would motivate anybody to buy from Gamify. If they were an NGO, we haven't really dealt with an NGO, I would go in a different approach. I would utilize the epic calling and meaning. I would tell them if you gamify it, it would reach a lot more people. It will engage more people. You will most likely have higher success rates of closing the crowdfunding that you have, and so on. So hopefully that also gave you an idea of how we can utilize that in sales.
ممتاز. If you can drill down on the ownership and position, يعني هلا مثلا انت you're positioning this to attract different types of users, mostly بدهم to increase sales.
Yeah.
So how is it implemented on Gamify itself? Ownership and possession. فهمت علي؟ How do you gamify?
احنا basically it's in the sales strategy that we have. We haven't really designed our own gamification yet. So we do it when we get in touch with the customer throughout the calls and the sessions that we have with them. We implement it in our sales strategy.
So it's mostly offline. That aspect of it is mostly offline because it requires a lot of hand holding.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. But also مثلا عندنا في الداشبورد we do have a lot of this. مثلا we have the levels, the badges, the achievements. So if you are launching مثلا certain things with us, you could get a badge for having 1,000 engaged users. You could level up for different things. You could get discounts.
I see. Okay.
You know, so we do implement some of that. We haven't really given it the time because we are under a lot of pressure ourselves. So we haven't really had the time or the luxury, being a startup, to actually look at how we can do that for ourselves. But it is important, and we need to do it.
Okay. يسلموا.
Yeah, for sure.
أوس في سؤال من أحمد السيد بحكي why did you choose gamification out of all possible areas to specialize in?
Okay, so this is not the first area I specialized in. Originally يعني أنا electronics يعني some part of control systems, electrical engineer. So I was really into that. I was really into designing hardware, software systems. That was my very first startup. And then I started doing a lot of business, just software development consultancy for different companies. I got to know and learn about different industries, including edtech, including just apps in general. So I went into companies. I saw how they work. I got to learn about their different industries, and I thought that I really can help the different industries at once by building this one platform instead of specializing in a certain industry or technology. Hopefully that answers.
تمام. في كمان سؤال من عبد الله صبري بيحكي لما يكون عندك كمية أفكار كثير لتطبيقها كيف ممكن تبدأ؟ هل إنه نحط كل الأفكار مرة واحدة ولا نركز على مجموعة أفكار قليلة ونطورها ولا نضيف الأفكار على فترات متفاوتة؟
Okay, هذا it's a great question. يعني unfortunately إنه الوقت ما بيسمح إن أروح على كل الانفورميشن الموجودة، بس خليني to answer this specific question. Where is it? Okay. Okay. Anyway, regardless, one of the steps, one of the 5 steps that I mentioned for getting started. Strategy dashboard was just the first step. The second step is the brainstorming, واللي هي انت عم تحكي عنها انه عندي كثير افكار، عم بيطلع معي كثير افكار, which should be the case, by the way. You should come up with around 100 to 150 ideas to implement. But that doesn't mean that you're going to implement all the 100 to 150 ideas. It's just, it could be, crazy ideas that nobody could use or think of, and down to the most basic ideas. Once you have brainstormed, and then I can probably give another session on how to brainstorm, you go to the feature list. So you list all of these ideas and you rate them. You say, this one out of 10, I love it the most, it's 10. And then this is 2, this is going to affect the business, so it has to be a 9. So you give it a rating, and then you look, you factor in your capacity, the team, capacity and bandwidth. And you can see if you can create a timeline given the priorities that you have. So how to come up with the 100 ideas? It's very simple. If you look at the different stages that we have here. So we have discovery, onboarding, returning, and veteran. So we have 4 different phases of the customer journey. Take one, discovery, right? And then go to the 8 core drives. So if you come up with 3 different game mechanics for each core drive for the first phase, so 3 times 8 is how much? 24, right? That's only for discovery, and that's pretty easy to do, 24 ideas for discovery. And then times 4, that's almost, let's say, 100. You can probably throw in a few more to reach the 100. So it's pretty simple to go through. It's not simple, it's time consuming, it could drain you. Brainstorming is something creative, so you need to be prepared and be in that mood. You need to be mentally prepared, let's say. But it's really fun. I enjoy it a lot. So you just need to go through those different 4 phases of customer journey: discovery, onboarding, returning, and veteran, 4 times, taking into account the different code drives and the different game techniques that you can utilize, and you will end up with a lot of ideas. And then you go to the feature list step of the funnel, and you list them out, and you give them weights and priority, and then you give it a timeline. Hopefully that answered the question.
Thank you أوس. شباب، في أي حدا بحب يحكي أو عنده أي سؤال؟ في عبد الله بحكي، اللي هو سأل سؤال قبل شوي، بس مش شرط إذا أنا حبيتها معناه إنه الزبون راح يحبها. أكيد.
ما هو أنت الديزاين تبعك هون كمان مرة it's human focused design. إحنا when we came we started out by defining our desired business metrics, and then we designed our user types. فإحنا ما عم بنفكر إنه إحنا عم بنفكر الزبون هذا النوع loyal customer who needs a product إيش اللي بيحبه، مش إحنا إيش اللي بنحب. That's how you want to think.
Yeah. شباب، أي حدا بحب يحكي أي شيء أو يسأل؟ تفضل جورج.
من ناحية الكاستمرز تبعك، سو في عندك تركيز بجنوب أمريكا، في بالوطن العربي أو بفلسطين كاستمرز؟
احنا proudly صراحة كويت is one of our major customer base. يعني عندنا كتير customers في الكويت، وحاليا we're branching out to دبي والسعودية. we're growing إن شاء الله في الريجن. Actually Kuwait is stronger than Latin America at the moment.
What type of customers?
والله عندنا retailers, holding companies عندهم retail businesses that have online and offline physical stores, etc. عندنا telecom companies, عندنا banks, a lot of banks. فيا different industries.
Very nice.
حتى we went from just doing the marketing and sales and customer facing of it into motivating internal teams in corporates and companies. when you talk about that انت بس بتغير ال desired metrics تبعتك وبتغير ال user type تبعك and then you switch the whole design into an internal team motivation, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
The corporates Palestine, did you approach them? Well, there was too small of a market to even spend time on it.
صراحة it's been a personal interest عندي إنه to work with at least one major corporate في فلسطين to make a difference. يعني حتى pricing wise we could consider إنه it's a different equation just so we can have something going في المارket. I'm happy to explore. يعني I talked to a few briefly. I haven't really pushed. But no, we didn't really actively go after sales in Palestine.
Okay.
في سؤال من مأمون قطيد
Mhm.
يسأل شو لغات البرمجة اللي بتستعملوها لتطوير your products.
Well, this is up to you. You can use C++. You can use Node.js. You can use anything. يعني it's based on your application. إذا أنت عم تحكي عن mobile application, you can go to something cross-platform if it's simple. يعني you can do React Native. It's regardless of the technology. It's the concepts that you need to apply. إحنا في Gamify مثلا we use Node.js. We use MongoDB for the database. We use React for the front end. So, I mean, it's a lot of different things.
حسب أنت واللي بتحبه.
Exactly. صراحة يعني gamification أنت you can think of it مش بس في التكنولوجي. يعني إذا عندك event you want to engage the attendees في الevent, you can include different gamification strategies. يعني we can talk about this in a different session, but it's very, very powerful. I've seen it myself. You can include leaderboards, you can include mystery box design rewards. It gets people really motivated and engaged and happy.
في كمان سؤال شكله someone من your team. أنا داخل باسمك. بحكي if you have limited resources, develop something automated. Is there any ways to develop an offline effective gamification systems that could be later migrated once ready?
Okay, أنا ما عندي account في اسمي. I'm the only person who has the account. ما في عندي company account لZoom. I don't know who that person is. Maybe they can type their name. Or if you can repeat the question بس شوي slowly, or if I can read it somewhere.
Again, if you have limited resources to develop something automated, is there any ways to develop an offline effective gamification systems that could be later migrated once ready?
يعني I'm sure there is a lot of ways to develop offline systems. زي ما كنت أحكي هلا إنه you can implement كل هاي strategies والtechniques مش بس على online. It's not meant to be just على online. You can do it على offline events, على your own health system, على raising your kids, even a relationship. It's about defining different metrics في البروجرام design, and then you can implement it however you want. يعني be it an automated system, be it an offline system. هذا بيرجع للفيدباك mechanics. To your question, George, what is feedback mechanics? It could be something a pop-up. It could be something offline. It really depends on your environment and the way you want to communicate with your users.
أحمد ستيتي بتقدر تحكي تفضل.
تحياتي. First of all, I missed you. Aus, thanks for the great presentation. I missed Gamify and the whole team. I just had a quick question. Have you thought of building a pixel where it will help you and the businesses during the brainstorming phases so you can apply the suitable gamification techniques that suits the industry and the type of business they do? Like a pixel that will help you understand the pain points of their customers, the journey, everything, but that for sure will be kind of collaboration between both companies, but it will be so efficient way so you can maybe reduce the required time of the brainstorming stage.
هلا أحمد, يعني صراحة we missed you too. This is a great question. I think this comes as a stage 2 or a phase 2 after implementation in how to optimize. لأنه before you implement, يعني you don't want to take too long. يعني installing a pixel and then accumulating data عن ال customers or users اللي عندهم and then implementing. Usually we like to implement first and then keep optimizing. So a pixel is a great idea. However, we also collect a lot of the data. The customer provides us with a lot of the data that they have about their users. As you probably know, the e-commerce site عندك كل analytics عنه. Maybe is that what you mean?
Yeah, but maybe I know what you mean on the later stage, like the power of the data with you collect, the Gamify system collect that will reflect for further enhancement. But I meant like earlier stage, so like an SDK that businesses can take and use together the pain points even before. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. Actually, we can definitely take it into account. It's interesting to see how this could work for the different customer types and industries. But it's definitely an area worth exploring. يعني.
Another question: how do you educate your customers on what gamification is?
Yeah, that's the big question, Saraha. It's been a long journey. It's not too long. It's like you said in the beginning, Dawood, it's a couple of years, 2.5 years. But اللي لاحظنا إنه early on when we started, it was very difficult to talk to our customers or tell them what is gamification. لأنك when you say gamification, they're thinking ghost games, you know. It's you want to build a game for us? We're a bank. Games don't work for banks. We're a formal business. Blah blah blah. So it took us a while until we started building that traction in a place. For example, Kuwait. Now everybody in Kuwait probably knows what Gamify is, what gamification is. So there is a learning curve that we go through with our customers that has different factors, including direct training and including social effect. So if you can give references from the market, if you can tell them, well, we've done 1, 2, 3 for that specific customer, then they can relate immediately. Now they are sending us links of things that we have built, asking us if we can do them for other customers. And then that has been like funny for us because they didn't know that it was us building it in the first place.
تمام. طيب شباب، في حدا عنده أي أسئلة؟ يعني يعطيك العافية أوس.
استنى شوي بس أعمل هيك. صراحة it's been يعني super amusing for me to talk about this concept. حابب إنه تبدأ هاي الكونسبت في فلسطين عشان ما أضل أحكي مع حالي ومع التيم، نحكي مع بعض بس ان شاء الله بنصير نحكي مع يعني الكل يصير عنده awareness في ايش الجيميفيكيشن. انا شخصيا willing to help اي حدا فيكم، يعني اي حدا من participants in their own designs, or if they have questions that I can answer, if they need resources أو أي شيء, feel free to reach out to me. We can have a coffee, virtual coffee هلا. After Corona we can have a coffee in person.
إن شاء الله يعني تنفك الأزمة قريبا ونشرب معكم كلكم قهوة بشكل حقيقي.
إن شاء الله.
عبد تفضل، شكلك بدك تحكي.
مساء الخير، كيفك أوس؟
هلا والله.
شو أخبارك؟
تمام والله. هلا فيك.
بما إنه الموضوع جيميفيكيشن ولايرت سيستمز وهالأمور، فمسويين إشي أنتوا للووكوميرس ولا لا؟
والله ووكوميرس we didn't connect على الاي بي ايز تبعتهم yet، لانه ما شفنا الديماند يعني في الماركت. normally الووكوميرس كاستمرز يعني we have it's a different market كانه geographically مش عندنا، مش في الريجن.
لا موجود. هلا احنا شغالين على شيء اسمه سلة as marketplace هون. الفكره في انه كل شوب بنعمل له، يعني هي اكثر ستور بليس اكثر من انه ماركت بليس. ف اذا في شيء ممكن انه احنا تو بايلوت سمثينج للسمول بزنسز اللي موجودين هون.
اكيد هابيلي، يعني بالعكس بنبسط كثير. سله اللي هو فلسطيني رايت، لانه في سله في السعوديه you know.
هلا احنا لوكالي از ستارت، بس لا ليتر اون في نيمينج ثاني رايحين له لبرا.
اوكي يا احنا فاميليار مع سله
اسم ايزي يعني مينلي.
اكيد بحب كثير انه to have a discussion معي انا وياك. we can take it يعني in a separate conversation, see how we can help each other يعني.
good. هذا هو. thank you.
Yep, you're welcome
حبيبي.
شكرا عبد. طيب يعني أوس الدنيا عتمت وأنت لسه على الشط،
أنا ما بترك
يعني
الشط.
تبرد الأجواء عندك. أنا شايف الهواء شد حاله عندك والأمواج يعني وضعها كويس.
لا عادي.
طيب.
أنا صراحة I'm a beach person يعني، وفي هاللوك داون بدك تعمل أي شيء to get you out of the mood إنك في لوك داون، ف يعني هاي الباك جراوند شوي بتعطيني هابينس،
بتساعد. حلو. هي برضه احنا لما نشوفها يعني هيك الواحد بحس انه احنا هناك يعني عايشين الجو.
بالضبط، هاي هي البوينت.
طيب يعطيك الف عافيه، شكرا كثير. يعني انا شخصيا استمتعت بالجلسه، على الرغم انه يعني ماليش في الكيميفيكيشن والاشياء هاي، ولكن يعني كثير برنسبلز بالنسبه لي كانت مفيده. بعرفش اذا فيهم راح استفيد منها او لا، ولكن يعني ان شاء الله بنشوف كيف مع الكووركينج والامور هاي.
حسب برضه داود، بدك تخسر وزن ولا ما بدك تخسر وزن؟ يعني اذا بدك تخسر وزن يكون يوزن.
يعني رح نخسر هاي الايام جايه، بنخسر في رمضان
ان شاء الله.
شكرا جزيلا شباب على وجودكم، ان شاء الله انكم استفدتوا. وبرضه شكرا للناس اللي تسمعنا على فيسبوك. شكرا أوس كمان مره، وان شاء الله بنشوفكم في جلسات قادمه في رمضان. احنا بكره مش راح يكون عندنا جلسه استراحه، بس راح يكون عندنا هيك اكتيفيتي لطيفه فور فن. راح نطلع لايف على الفيسبوك بحدود الساعه 9. راح نشارك معاكم رابط في شويه جيميفيكيشن يعني يعني لا بيشبه شيء كويز نايت، ولكن كويز نايت اونلاين. تقدروا تدخلوا تشاركوا تجاوبوا على الاسئله، ويكون ظاهر السكور بورد على اللايف. يعني بيكون فعال من 9 ل 10 علشان اي حدا بيحب يشارك to have some fun. والاسبوع الجاي ان شاء الله بنكون معاكم بجلسات جديده بوقت جديد، وبنحاول نخفف السكيجول عشان الناس يعني ما تتعبش كثير، خصوصا انه احنا هسه يعني واحنا مفطرين الواحد يدوب صوته يساعده طول الوقت، فما بالكم واحنا صايمين. شكرا جزيلا ويسعد مساكم، ونراكم في جلسه. سلامات جميعا.
سلامات. هلا.
باي باي.